I'm going to say some things with love and respect for some of my dearest friends who are in this room at this wonderful event. I'm going to say that I want us to stop obsessing about identity. For 30 years, identity has dominated digital discourse and practice because for the longest time, when we were trying to trust people online, identity was the only thing that we had to go on. We've been overcooking the Peter Steiner cartoon. I think it's a joke. I think it's about the mischief of dogs. I don't think it's a parable about the internet. Our habit is that when we're faced with higher risk, we look for higher trust and we ask for more identity. We are putting the quantity of identity ahead of the quality of identity. We put identity first, and I'm aware of how contradictory that is in this audience. If there's an idea, the received wisdom is that the internet has an original sin due to the lack of an identity layer. Identity is on a pedestal, we've put it first. And it's led to bad habits, hasn't it? Instead of verifying the things that matter when we transact with people, we have this habit of collecting personal information. We overcollect personal information, we overcollect circumstantial clues to give us confidence in what we're dealing with. And all of that stuff gets stolen and leaks, and it's bought and sold and used against us by criminals. Using identification to manage risk is like putting out fire with gasoline. And so, at the same time, data has become the lifeblood of modern society. Data has become the defining resource of the 21st century. It is a utility now almost as important as clean drinking water. And so the World Bank has called for a new social contract to protect citizens from the misuse of data, to protect them against these incredible asymmetries that are intrinsic to high tech. Surveillance capitalism, the crazy situation, the immoral situation that the best brains in the world are not using data to solve cancer, they're using data to find new ways of serving up ads. So the World Bank is reacting to that. The world is reacting to that. We are quite properly seeing a stronger regulatory push. No more Wild West. The criticality of data to society is such that stronger and deeper regulatory measures are coming, and so they should. Now, cynics say that we are post-truth, and I'm not a cynic. I think that it must be the case that the biggest issue that we have is still digital truth. From card fraud through misinformation to deep fakes, the fundamental problem here is poor data. We can't trust the evidence of our own eyes anymore. But are we really going to launch digital twins without properly fixing fidelity? We have been making up fidelity as we go along. We've been looking at circumstantial ways of establishing trust. When are we going to take this seriously? When are we going to put some infrastructure in place so that we can have digital twins sensibly? With those problems, we're now finally seeing really concerted, multidimensional efforts and reactions and measures. For instance, some of the biggest mastheads in the world, media companies, have joined with Microsoft Research to create this coalition for provenance and authenticity. And in January, they held a major meeting. The whole YouTube of the event is online, it's great. They also in January launched their first draft specification for authenticity of content online. And the Identity will identify with the document. It is full of binding and key management and digital signatures. Verified Information Exchange. I wonder where they got that name from. It's hosted by UW. It is an interdisciplinary research initiative, and it's taken the position that information supply is a type of market. It's a two-sided market, and it's a market that needs exchange protocols and local standards, a regulatory framework that will allow this stuff to be treated as a serious resource. So we are seeing with this sort of language the emergence of network business models for data. We would have all seen GAIN this week. One of the most interesting things that's happened for years, thanks to Daniel Goldscheider and Don Thibault and Nat Sakamura and a bunch of people. Great work. It means different things to different people, and what it means to me, the most strongest thing in GAIN is buried on page 42 or 49, deep down, where they introduce a fourth actor to our cherished triad of the credential holder, the credential issuer, and the relying party. And that fourth party is a service provider. And the document expressly compares the service provider to the fourth party in a card payment system. That four-party model of the card payment system, I think, is the cornerstone of global e-commerce. It's actually one of the modern wonders of interdisciplinary application of technology and rules. It is been with us for so long that we're almost taking it for granted, but it's a paragon of what we call infrastructure. Infrastructure is not just about the poles and wires and the ones and zeros, but it is about hardware and networks and applications and rules and business processes and business models for delivering and consuming and managing information. Network business models have been with us with the card system for decades, and now we're beginning to see glimmers through GAIN and through the work of the Verifiable Information Exchange that these sorts of models can lend themselves to the problems that we've been dealing with in our space now for 30 years. Now, business supply, data supply, information value chains are with us. They've been with us ever since credit reference agencies started, for better or for worse. It's a reality. We as technologists need to get better organised to support the conduct of information value business. Now, if there's any truth in that metaphor that data is like crude oil, why don't we start thinking about data assays? Measures of the quality and the reliability and the origins and the usefulness and what makes data valuable. Why don't we measure this stuff and apply it as metadata, bind it to data records as they move their way through these complicated information supply chains? I envision cryptographic infrastructure where verifiable data can be as widely available and can be taken for granted as we take for granted stable electricity and clean drinking water. And we have the tools to do this, and the ID pros know that we've got the tools because they develop them. Now, did you notice I've been going for 20 minutes? I think 20 minutes. I haven't used identity for that long. I haven't used the word. And it's because the word identity isn't helping us anymore. I think the identity should be more embarrassed by the fact that we're still arguing about what this thing even means. Seriously, professionally embarrassed that the name of our industry is subject to debate. What we can agree on surely is that there's too much of this stuff sloshing around. There's too much identity. The post-identity world is looming where we can think about trust without identifying. We can break those old habits. Instead of putting identity first, instead of starting with identity, when we're designing systems, a good design thinking mindset would be to ask, what do you need to know about the counterparty? What do you need to know? Where are you going to get that data? How are you going to know that it's true? So let's focus on the concrete. Let's design for the specific facts and figures that we need to form relationships with people and to get transactions and jobs done. And I talked the other day about a paradigm shift. It's a big call. How do you know that you're in a paradigm shift as it's happening? And there are lots of clues and signals for that. But the time is clearly right. We've got the nuts and bolts. We've got smart, intelligent devices at the edge. We have got data containers, smart digital containers that turn out to be excellent for holding verifiable data. We've got clouds full of APIs. we can put this stuff together, we can do better, we can do something bigger, we can do something for all of cyberspace if we could lose these bad habits. And you know what? If zero trust is a thing, then zero identity is a thing. Thank you.